welcome to a new Harry's Garage video, and today's car is the Lamborghini Huracan Evo rear-wheel drive. You could term it the entry level to the Huracan range, or to Lamborghini mid-engine sports car range. Feels a bit mean that, because it's still got packed 610 horsepower from that V10, 5.2 litre V10 that we first saw in the Gallardo. When was it? 2003, I think it was first introduced. And I can remember going to the launch in Rome and Vallelunga and driving this lovely little Lamborghini. But it still lists at £164,880 add-on delivery and first registration and tracker, and you get to an on-the-road price of £173,230. But that is a £35,000 saving over the four-wheel drive version. It's funny, the two-wheel drive versions of the Huracan and the Gallardo, they tend to come at the end of the line. This car has been out a while now, but it just mixes all sorts of ingredients. Yes, it's slightly down on power, so you get a four-wheel drive is 644, this is 610 PS horsepower. That's still a chunk of horsepower, but it only weighs 1398 kilos dry. That's 33 kilos less than the four-wheel drive version. Let's go and have a closer look. First thing to say is look at the design of it. I mean, a Huracan has been out a while, but this simplistic look of the Evo rear-wheel drive at the front, I think it just enhances this design. It's such a Lamborghini look, you know, it surprises, makes you smile. It looks like nothing else on the road. And what I love about it, it's compact, this car. It's smaller than its rivals. It's 4459 by 1924 in mil, the size of this car. If I put that into inches, it's actually 7 inches narrower than a McLaren 720S and 6 inches shorter than that Ferrari F8 I had in. And yet it packs a V10 in there as well. It's sort of enhanced this particular one because it's got this pearlescent paint. The paint, this colour is the blue simi, and it's £11,448 extra. It's one of those ad personam colours, so you have to spec it. But yeah, it does enhance. The baby blue is sort of a classic Lamborghini colour. You used to see it on Miuras at the start. Yeah, we've had this car over the Christmas period and been using it as much as we can. We've been using it for shopping. There's the boot on it. It's probably a black hole you can't really see. But you might notice some glass in there because we had a slight accident with a very expensive cognac. I bought some cheap brandy to do the Christmas pudding with and some nice cognac to drink. And unfortunately, I hit a pothole, and when we got home, yeah, we'd smashed the cognac. The cheap brandy was fine, which is a bit of a pain. But it smells very nice, this car. There's this whiff of cognac every time you open the bonnet. Just hope we don't get stopped and breathalyzed. Other things on this car, really like the wheel design. These are an optional wheel, they're forged wheel. 19 inch is actually the normal size, but look at those tyres, they are tiny. I think they're 245 30s. I can't see the size on them. I think they are, I mean, just sort of painted on there. This car's got CCM brakes on it as well. The brakes are an option, but they're not a bad option. You get steel brakes as standard, but if you want CCM brakes and silver caliper, where you'll be paying an extra £2,232, which in the great scheme of things is not a bad option to have. Just the design, you'll see this when you're driving, but there's a lot of glass. You can sort of see out of this car very easily. It's sort of well thought out. Door handle pops out when you open it, when you press open. I like the way you go straight in. There's no sort of cap, straight refuel in there. Big tank as well, decent range. Come round the back. And this car has got this glass engine cover. Now this is quite an expensive option. I think it's £4,800. Standard is louvers, like you used to get on Miura. And I have to say, if I was going to order one of these, that's what I'd have. But there is this V10. Quite a lot to say about this V10 because it's an unusual engine configuration. Bear with me on this, but the details are interesting. It's a long stroke engine, i.e. its bore is smaller than the stroke. The piston has to go a long way up and down. What that does is basically give you a longer lever on the crankshaft, and that's to increase torque. And old days you couldn't get that and high revs because the piston's jumping up and down in the cylinder, and there's a sort of finite speed a piston can do that. But this car produces maximum power 8, revs to 8,500, and it has a 12.7 to 1 compression ratio. In old school engineering terms, extraordinary. So to produce 610 horsepower from 5.2 litre is mega. Torque, 413 pound-foot of torque from this engine, which when you compare it to the turbocharged rivals like F8 and McLaren, well, they're running about 575, 90 pound-foot of torque. But it's a very good engine, this. Do not dismiss this normally aspirated engine, and the sound that comes out at this rear is quite extraordinary, and it still gives this car a 200 mile an hour top speed, 202 miles an hour. But anyway, it's all Lamborghini, it's all about the driving, so let's go and take it outside now. We get, yeah, well, Lamborghini strikes you as soon as you get in this car. They do interiors like nobody else, and the sort of angular look, a fun look, I think, with all the vents, etc., and these spidery gear change behind the wheel. Alcantara steering wheel on this one, that's an optional, I think. I'm trying to work out the option. It's quite tricky trying to interpret what is standard and what's optional in this car, but you do get this screen. I'm going to start it up actually, as I say, it's a bit chilly today. Oh, there we are, starts up in Strada mode, and if I go into, what's it up there, fasten seatbelt, well, all right then, shut you up. Heated seats on this car, they're standard, electric seats as well. Put it on 2 bars on the seat. Climate, see if I can turn the fan down a little bit. Yeah, there we are. Yeah, seats, always been an issue in the Huracan sort of discussion point. I've gone okay with them, but these are even better. I feel these seats are better, electrical, adjustable. Yeah, I'm comfy, and unlike that Spider we had in, I don't have to have the seat all the way back to get comfortable. I'm 6'2", and I'll just see, yeah, I can put the seat back further, that far, so I'm about an inch and a bit to go to my comfortable position, and the wheel really adjusts. They always have Lamborghinis, but yeah, massive amount of adjustment on the steering wheel. What else have we got? Well, yeah, starter button obviously hides under the little red thing. Reverse, I love the way they just do it, because it's a sort of lever over the top of everything, and you just touch a paddle on the right and you're in, you know, you're in auto, but that's how you get going. But your hand just falls to it. It's tactile how the reverse works. Silly little details, but when you're living with these sort of crazy cars, it's just nice. This has got front lift, absolutely essential, I would say. 3,200 for lift, got to be fitted, I'm afraid. This is marginal on some speed bumps, but there we go. What else is on this interior? I think it's got this carbon fibre finish here as well. All told, with all the extras that they've thrown at this press car, we are at £228,744 for this particular example of Huracan. Just a thought on that. That is £100,000 less than that Ferrari F8 we had in to test. Remarkable saving. But anyway, there we go. Let's get out and see what this car behaves like on some of my favourite roads. Car sets off in a sort of auto mode, dual clutch transmission. Remarkably easy, very un-Lamborghini like, and so different to that Aventador that is just clumsy and just can't do normal stuff like this. Now again, this is my noisy bit of road, and this is a noisy car. I measured it at about a decibel or 2 higher than the 911 I took down here, so it's about 79 decibels. These sort of normal doors, monster great mirrors. I love the mirrors on the Huracan. They're almost the best in the business, the position, what you see from them. Yes, I've got steering wheel controls for indicators, etc. But yeah, anybody who's got a Ducati might recognise the indicator thing. It's just like on a bike, so it's on the one side, unlike Ferrari that has it on left and right. And Ducati, you just press the middle of it. I think it works absolutely fine, and to have gear change paddles as good as these, well, I'll sacrifice the normal column stalks because these controls work fine. Typical Lamborghini fashion, there's a flashing light, headlight just above the indicators, because that's a very important switch in a Lamborghini, horn in the middle, and over this side I've got wipers, easy to control, which I've been using a lot during my 2 weeks of particularly wintry weather while we've had this car. That did throw up something at the back. If you pay your £4,800 extra to have the optional glass cover, what it does sort of, if you leave the car parked outside, it gets wet and it condenses. There's no heated screen on it, so you can't see out the back. I would save the money and have the slats. This feels a well-designed car, and I said in the garage, you can see out. It's not intimidating in any way. I love the way you can see the corners. McLaren have the best lookout with that sort of wing, the glass going right down. But then again, you sort of need it because it's that much bigger physically than this Huracan. Well, the controls on the steering wheel, well, down here I've got a little thing that just changes what I'm looking at on the dash. I've got tyre pressures there, and temperatures as well, actually, which is good. Fuel consumption, a bit of a scary one. That's 15 mpg so far this morning, but that's not really true. So I've been averaging 18, 19 with it. I mean, not great, but not too bad. What else have we got? Next service, yeah, you get 4 years free maintenance and servicing and warranty as standard on the Huracan now, which is good as part of the list price. So sort of competing with Ferrari. Right, I've just put it into sport and I'm going to squirt up the hill. No denying you're in a Lamborghini, is it, when you hear that sound? I'm going to put it back to Strada just in case you can't hear me. Yeah, we'll come on to these and what they do, but you've got Strada, Sport and Corsa down there, and obviously Sport just energizes the car, changes the way that it changes gear and that sort of thing. It also puts the dampers on a slightly firmer setting, and it does adjust the steering load as well. Yeah, Freda's electric steering in here, which you sort of notice that particularly when you're manoeuvring, it's just lighter. It's not nearly as bad as the Audi R8, thank goodness. Variable rack, and on the move I've got to like the steering on this car, so yeah, no real complaints there. Again, unlike the Aventador, there are places to put things. I've got door pockets, and I can put things in door pockets like masks, so I can go and buy some fuel. I've got a thing for my phone back here, I've got a glove box, and I've got a really useful shelf just behind the seats as well. I do make a point on these practical bits, because when you're using this car, these sort of things really matter. If you're just buying it as a garage queen, then fine, just buy the Aventador, it'll be fine. But if you actually want to use the car, this works very well, this Huracan. God, brakes as well. Shuffling through the gears. Just the sounds. I mean, I'm only using 4,500 RPM or something, but there's no denying I'm in a Lamborghini. Let's put it into sport. Let's see what it does away from here, this junction here. There we go, all quiet. You can't. Wild, not helped by it, but it's 4 degrees now. Yes, I mean, obviously 4-wheel drive, it would launch better than that. But I want my cars to interact with me. I want to feel in control. I don't want to try and dominate, go just so fast because it's 4-wheel drive. So I like this 2-wheel drive, and the actual traction control, the PSC, they've got it set up, is good. It allows a little bit of looseness, but never cuts the engine, so it sort of bogs down and gets going. It's just there, it's just controlling it on the cusp of sort of you know, more wheel spin arriving. Very clever, good system. Right, back in Strada, which is there for road use. This is where that F8 was tramlining like crazy. Down here, no, not tramlining. Yes, I can sense the road. I mean, it's compliant, but yeah, my mum would say this is uncomfortable, but I think it's pretty compliant for the type of car it is. And steering just feels honest. I love the way I'm actually feeling what's happening through the rack. McLaren score there, because obviously with their hydraulic rack, it's just, you forget what extra information you get from a really good steering rack. McLaren do win out on that one. Right, let's put it back onto sport. Manual gearbox, just try it through here. So this is my compression. Trying to do 60 through here, it's quite hard this car. Yep. Edge that off. Oh, listen to it. Through there. It feels... yeah, it feels racer. That's just the overriding feeling of this. I think that Super Trofeo race series has done Lamborghini's massive favours, because this feels home. It feels fantastic through there, really does. And I have to say, I've been down this favourite bit of road of mine several times over the holiday period, and horrible weather, absolutely disgusting. 2 degrees, snow, etc. Two-wheel drive, yes, but there is a sense when you get good controls, you sense what the car's doing, and it's not intimidating. It's not like a Aventador that feels clumsy down here. This doesn't. This feels edgy. It feels 911-esque. It feels Lotus. It really feels terrific down here. And Lamborghini Huracans and Gallardos in particular don't normally feel like this. It's taken a while, but this Huracan is a bit special. It's one of those cars you're always going slightly faster than you should be. It's the car officer, it's not me, I'm not doing it. Anyway, here we go, through these tighter bends. Nice gear change. Sharp on the steering. One more change in there, it's icy down here quite often. Yeah, struggling on traction out there. It's a weapon and it's alive, because it's not four-wheel drive, it just feels alive. Right, let's knock it back to Strada. Time to summarise this car. Well, we start with the dislikes. I suppose it's a bit too much Lamborghini in sport. I just wish I could calm it down on the dampers and perhaps the exhaust. I've got no control over it. I've only got these 3 things here, and Corsa is just too nuts for this road in the winter. I want that, when we had that Urus in, you had was it an Ego or something, which was your own setting. I wish this car had that. I would have the aggressive gear change, the heavier steering, softer dampers, no exhaust. It's plenty loud enough already. Then that electric steering, you know, say McLaren has taught us how good old style hydraulic steering is. This isn't too bad as electric racks go, but it just annoys. It just feels a bit false at slow speeds, but gets better as you go quicker and you've got it in the sport setting. Before we get to the likes, well, let's kick off with the size of it. Oh, it's such a joy to have a small supercar like this. It's 911 size. It might be slightly smaller than 992. I'll put it up as graphic now, I'm not sure exactly, but it's pretty close. But it's a V10, 200 mile an hour car. So I really like the size of it, and the way visibility is great. I like seats as well, they match the usability, you know. I'd say I've been itching to take this out for a drive all the time we've had it. I love the looks as well. You get outside, it's one of those cars that as soon as you open your garage you go, whoa, look at that. Everybody was, oh, Lamborghini, without even seeing the badge. So I think that is some magic there to, you know, for a design that's lasted this long, to still have that wow factor. And the price, 164 list
tempts you in. You know, I had that 911 Carrera in base Carrera. I would love one of these in absolute base spec, steel brakes, and just as Lamborghini intended, without any add-ons. I think it would drive just as well as this car. And then the performance, oh wow, just to tap into that performance. Remember that, I mean, 3.3 is the declared 0 to 62 time, but it's been measured at 9.3 to 200 kilometers an hour. A McLaren F1 is 9.4. Uber performance, even though it's sort of 30 horsepower, metric horsepower down on the four-wheel drive version. And you don't need to tap into it to enjoy it. You have that sound of that V10 at all times. It's always reminding you how great a normally aspirated engine is. And during these iffy conditions, I've just found you can nibble up to its limits easier because it's normally aspirated. You don't get this wallop of turbo torque completely overloading the rear wheels. With a normally aspirated engine like this and lower torque, I just found it easy and not intimidating, as I said before. In conclusion, this Huracan has matured into a mighty driving machine at a very good price point. The differentiator for me between F8 McLaren and this Huracan is the V10 engine. V10 is that happy place between a V12 and a V8. In the other cars, you feel slightly junior because you've got the V8 and there's a V12 in the rain. With V10, you just get the best of both worlds. You think of Carrera GT V10. There is no compromise on performance. I would not buy an Aventador after driving this. I'd only buy it for the garage queen, that look and the crazy doors, you know. I'd like Aventador for that, but to drive, no question, of this Huracan every day. And the biggest surprise, I would have this over the F8 all day, every day. And I really wasn't expecting that when I booked this car in. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed this video of this Huracan Evo rear wheel drive supercar. There's no other word for it. If you have, well, please keep watching, keep subscribing, because there'll be more videos coming along very soon.